Alright, so the assignments for this week should be hopefully fairly straightforward. So we'll start with the model 2, which is basically do the exact same thing that you did for model 1, where you grab an object from provided references, and then you model it. The only real difference here, there's two things. So one, this must be done with smooth modeling, so that if you hit 3 on the keyboard, your model is designed to smooth well. So that's all the pieces of the model, not just like this should be smooth, this shouldn't, they should all be smoothed. So that's one difference. The other difference is you are modeling and UVing the object before going on. So both of these need to be done by next week. Next week you'll be doing texturing, and then the week after there's like a weird bit on compositing onto a background, basically, which you'll also be doing for your final. So like I said, I do have this link to the provided orthographics reference footage images here. So these are all the objects you can choose from. All the ones highlighted red are just currently, I need to still actually take pictures of them, so that's like a reminder for me. I have 1 or 2 hints, and then some people I think asked for, like, if an object was like super hard, you know, they asked for like notes on that. So if something's like really annoying to do, I did try to note it, or I will try to note it as I update the pictures for things. So like I said, object must smooth well with 3 key. Try to pay attention to edge flow. Booleans on this you can get away with hard models, but like on this it is not good at all. They will make your life an absolute living hell. And just remember that more edges isn't always better. I find smooth modeling is easiest to do when I have like as few edges possible, because it makes it easier to edit stuff. The other thing is that you have to use NURBS curves to recreate some kind of cable. So I've basically chosen everything with some kind of cable in it, I guess except the hammer. But yeah, so if there's cables shown on the object, you should be making those cables, again, using NURBS curves. And again, I don't really care if anything's to scale, it just needs to scale proportionally, and, you know, look like the object. You can always scale it up later if you need to. Again, same kind of generic stuff. You know, is it obvious what the model is? It should match the reference as closely as possible. And again, just a reminder that if something's modeled as a separate object in the real world, you can make it a separate object in the image. So like for the newer light, once I take pictures of that, that's going to be basically have like 100 little LED lights on it or whatever. You know, you can make all of those lights separately, that's fine. I'm not going to make you extrude 100 nubs out of a cube. Alright, and then again, for stuff like UVs, just make sure that there's uniform texel density, so all of the squares are more or less the same size when you're looking at your checker texture, and that goes between all of the pieces. So all of your UVs for all of your pieces should fit on the UV like 0 to 1 grid as closely as possible, or what am I saying? Sorry, as efficiently as possible. Ideally, they'd be organized in some easy way that would make it obvious to tell like what you were actually doing going forward. But yeah. And then again, so areas, if there's something with like a sharp crease in the reference, there should be a sharp crease in the model. So I know like one of the options that I have is the hot glue gun. I need to update some of these. So if we're looking at this, say from this angle, you know, there's a hard crease here, so that should be represented. This surface is curved, like that should be curved. Like try to get like all the contours and stuff in. So that would also include, not the sticker so much, but that would include like all of these little like indents and stuff like that here. This actually, you could use NURBS to model this little wire doodle thing here instead of the cable. That would also be fine. But like for something like this, if you know the hot glue gun is there, like the stick obviously can be a different object because that is a physically different object. Same thing with that little button switch here, which you can't really see in this picture, but it's like a little black switch. So you can make that a separate object. Just make sure that there's a hole in the main body for it. And that works for stuff that you're doing for your final as well. Same thing for the trigger. Like the blue piece could totally be a separate object. You don't need to extrude it out of this main body. But if you do that, you do need a hole at least for this thing to sit in. Like don't just clip this through the main body object. Ditto for this little wire piece, and then this really disgusting hole that it's supposed to be going to, and then like all of this stuff. This stuff you could do either attached or separate, it doesn't really matter, but it's not something that like moves or would come off, so that's kind of up to you. But yeah, so that's basically that. So what I'm mostly looking for is, again, how's the edge flow? Like, does the object look like what it should? Are there any broken areas? And then obviously expanding into the area of doing smooth modeling, which I know a lot of you guys have already done, actually, with the first assignment. So, yeah. Okay, so these are worth 8 points. Pretty much all the assignments going forward are worth 8 points instead of the original 4. Because ideally, they're sort of less, like, practice assignments, quote-unquote, I guess you'd say. So it will be, again, you know, pay attention to stuff like UVs and edge flow and all that stuff. So if I remember correctly, this is pretty much the same requirements as before. So I think the only real difference is the renders. So do 2 instead of 1. So when you're submitting this, again, 2 renders. So 1 should be normal or unsmoothed, which is like just hit 1 on the keyboard. And then one of your objects should be smooth preview with the 3 key. So select, like I said, everything on your object, hit the 3 key, and render it out. It can be from the same angle, it can be from a different angle, I don't really care. One interesting thing with smooth modeling is that normally if your object smooths properly and holds up smooths, it will hold up in a low poly view. So your mesh shouldn't look, you know, horribly distorted when you're looking at it unsmoothed. It should still hold up as, it might be like lower poly than something that was designed to hard model, because you do have that like extra sort of fudging from the smoothing. But it should still look like the object and look unbroken. Alright, so those 2 renders, ooh, hello. 1 UV snapshot image, which again, just go into the UV editor and then do the like image UV snapshot. And then 1 screenshot of your model with the wireframe and shaded enabled, and outliner visible and expanded. So basically just, you know, apply that checker texture, apply the little blue wireframe, and then just take a screenshot, like I said. Screenshot your model in the viewport with the outliner expanded, and ideally things should be named. I'm not really being super stickler about that, but, you know, you should name your stuff. And then just the Maya file with the most up-to-date model. Please, I beg of you, do not zip anything. Just submit 5 individual files. It's way easier for me to look at. But that's pretty much it for this one. So next week you'll be texturing this, and like I said, the week after you'll be doing some weird cleaning up textures maybe and compositing some stuff onto a background.